Stringing is an inlay detail found on many historic antique examples. It has appeared in America since at least before the Queen Anne and Chippendale periods, but took on a life of its own once the Federal-era fashions of Hepplewhite and Sheridan began gripping the elite. Stringing can be used to outline a form to emphasize shape, or used strictly as adornment, like in this detail I made and applied to a Seymour sofa reproduction. Today I'd like to show you how I created this diamond motif using hand tools and some straightforward techniques. The shape consists of a series of straight lines and circle segments known as arcs. After laying out the design on paper, I transfer the information to this jig, which holds the workpiece and allows each action to be repeated across several workpieces. To inlay stringing, a void must be made. This cutter, ground from bandsaw blade, will produce a void of precise dimensions as the stringing material I have prepared. The position of the cutter has been adjusted to the lines I have drawn on the workpiece. I carefully remove the material with the scratch stock, trying to stay within the layout margins. I begin with light pressure to establish a clean cut across the surface. Then I angle the cutter to remove material more quickly. This is a pair of dividers with removable legs. I have ground and filed some drill stock to the same dimensions as the bandsaw blade cutter and inserted it in one side of the dividers. I set the dividers to the layout lines and begin swinging the arc from the points I have already established on the jig. This step changes the shape of the stringing by drawing it across the blade. It gives the stringing a slight wedge shape in order to press it in the void made in the last step. Not only does this help in holding the stringing in its void, but the wedge shape will fill the inconsistencies inherent to using hand tools. With this pipe and flame, I slowly work the wet Padauk stringing into a complex curve. Padauk is brittle and hard to bend and will often break, so I recommend making a lot of extra material or choose a species that will bend more easily. I try to bend all that is required for the project while I have this set up, so afterwards I can begin fitting and mitering the parts. After the glue cures, I scrape down only what's necessary because the thin maple veneer substrate won't tolerate much. I save the final scraping and sanding for the end. I reinsert my layout lines I scraped away. Because the strings overlap, I do this pattern in stages so I can scratch cleanly through each line as I progress through the process. Here I am again using the dividers, still with the same setting, to continue removing waste within the void. It is during this step that I also scratch and refine the arcs at either end, completing all but the diamond. Mitering can be done with the aid of jigs, but because of the wedge-shaped string, it's likely you'll have to make right and left-hand jigs for each pair of similar miters, making it, in this case, less appealing to do so. I do it freehand with a paring chisel. Now, as before, I redraw my layout lines and begin scratching out the diamond. use light pressure all around to establish the shape with the cutter, and begin to cut deeper and deeper. With a chisel, I score the areas of delicate short grain to save them from being torn out from scratching. I also use the chisel to score the outer lines of the diamond points that can't be reached with the dividers, and remove the corner waste with the modified knife. Once the diamond is complete, it's time to fill it with more curved stringing, mitered and fit in the same manner as before. After the glue dries, it's time to level all the padauk even with the surface by planing, scraping, and sanding. Applying a thin coat of seed lac really shows off the figured maple. And there you have it. Thanks for watching.